you guys. Welcome back to Gotta Love Them Movies, your place to talk about the stuff that you love. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time, and you guys, I just had the best weekend. So, as you know, a lot of you know, I work as a comedian outside of being doing the flight attendant job, outside of the YouTube job. I wear many hats. So this last weekend, I had the pleasure, the opportunity to go out to Camp Improv Utopia in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. It's just adult summer camp is what it is. We all stay in cabin. You can kind of see there's like a little photo of a cabin there. Everybody has their own bunk. I think we did like 5 people to a room, but like everybody was all spaced out. And they put me and Kim together so that we could kind of like sleep, fairly close to each other, kind of being in close proximity to each other. But everybody was all spaced out. You can see there's a lake. You can rent canoes and go out on the lake. But yeah, it was so good. It felt so great just being back amongst people, people that I know, doing something that we love. And so it's Camp Improv Utopia. So it's not just, hey, let's go spend a weekend in cabins in the woods. There's a structure to it, right? So they bring in guest teachers, and we all kind of like go around and go to like different workstations. We take this teacher's workshop and that teacher's workshop, and each workshop kind of teaches various principles of improvisation. And hey, you're doing a great job, but this is where you're at. Let's try to strengthen your tool belt a little bit and give you another tool that when you find yourself on stage the next time and blank happens, this is a tool of how to deal with that. And it's so much fun, and there's so much camaraderie, and just the nature of improvisation, it made me feel so great. And speaking of improvisation and everything else, so at camp, sorry, this is a longer explanation than I think anybody asked for, but at Camp Improv Utopia, one of the things that they do, like there's multiple shows that happen. I think on Friday night, they get all the teachers together and they have a great big teacher show. And then Saturday night, they have kind of it's a show, but they call it a festival. It's called Tiny Fest. And so anybody can sign up for Tiny Fest. And if you have an idea for a show that you want to do, boom, it's in Tiny Fest. But you only get 2 minutes. You get 2 minutes to do anything you want to do. So this one guy, he was in my cabin. His name is Jeff. He's from DC. He's a wonderful, talented improviser. He comes up to me after one of our workshops together, and he goes, "Mike, I like your style. Do you want to be in a show with me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we did this show called Bunker Buddies, where the whole concept was like 2 grizzled war veterans and it's now the apocalypse, and you're stuck in like this underground bunker together. So what's some kind of an activity that these 2 guys can do together in this underground bunker? So the audience suggestion was hopscotch. So we started playing hopscotch in this underground bunker together. But of course, it's never about the thing. It's never about playing hopscotch. It's how does playing hopscotch make you feel, and how do you transpose that on your scene partner and make it about them, make it about your relationship. So we only did it for 2 minutes, but it was fun, kind of like exploring those relationships again for 2 minutes and just having a weird wackadoo time. Well, at Tiny Fest, this was something that Kim and I had planned a long time ago. As a lot of you guys know, Kim and I are getting married this upcoming October 1st. We have 23 days. We're getting married in 23 days. That's, so excited. It was so much to do. So we thought that while we went to Camp Improv Utopia, that we would get tiny married. So here's a photo I've queued up for you. This is just one of thousands of photographs that were taken. We're in kind of like the outdoor gymnasium. You can see Nick Armstrong right there in the middle, which, by the way, if you don't know Nick Armstrong has been in multiple episodes of The Office and Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's kind of an LA working actor, but ever since he founded Camp Improv Utopia, he's been putting the majority of his focus into Camp Improv Utopia, and it's just the whole thing is just, the whole experience is incredible. And there's Camp Improv Utopia in California. There's 2 in California, and then there's 1 in Pennsylvania, and then there's 1 in Dublin, Ireland. Yeah, so, I mean, he's got his hands full, so he's not so much doing the working actor thing right now. But here he is. So he was playing the part of our officiant. Of course, Kim is not featured in this photo, but from left to right, you have Cindy, and then Erica, and then, of course, there's Nick Armstrong, and then myself in my T-shirt tux, and then TJ Penrod from southern Utah, Cedar City, Utah. He and his wife are just ridiculously talented. And then you have Deborah Lowe's all the way on the end, who Deborah will be not in, but at our actual wedding. And so here we just did tiny wedding, tiny marriage. I think tiny matrimony is what it was called. Guys, it was so fun. Kim walked down the aisle. It felt so real. It felt so real. We made, I don't have it with me right now, but we made like these, at arts and crafts table, we made like these little plastic rings for each other, out of like those plastic friendship bracelet material. I got like stacks of $100 bills that were all printed on paper that after the ceremony, we made it rain. We got a suggestion from the audience as to what our vows should be. So we improvised our vows to each other. And then Nick Tiny married us. The whole thing, the whole wedding ceremony was from start to finish was 2 minutes. It was so fun. It was so fun, you guys. Anyway, so that was my weekend. You guys. And before we jump into the main body of the show, I have a little bit of housekeeping to keep up with. In terms of the schedule, again, I'm getting married October 1st. The wedding is coming up. It's coming up fast. With all of the stuff happening, this show will have a little schedule change. So if you've been watching the show, if you plan on watching the show, just know that for the next few weeks, things are going to be a little different. Next week, 1 week from today, Wednesday, September 15th, I have to work. I have to go do my flight attendant job thing because, again, until YouTube starts paying me, first of all, I need the subscribers and I need the views, right? But until YouTube starts paying me, I got to keep my flight attendant job. I got to keep those checks coming in. So next week, Wednesday, September 15th, I will be working that day, but the show will begin at 10 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, East Coast time. So do your math accordingly. If you live in a different part of the world, we will be starting much earlier in the day, much earlier in the day, because, got to go work. The following week, Wednesday, September 22nd, all systems normal. We're back at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 1,300 hours East Coast time. Wednesday, September 2nd, everything is normal. Wednesday, September 19th, that's 2 days before I get married. So I don't know if I'm doing a show that Wednesday or not. I should be able to. But I can't make any promises right now, you guys, because, again, it's 2 days before I get married. My family is coming in from D.C. Kim's family is coming in. We've got friends flying in from San Diego. They're coming to stay with us. There's a lot going on. There's going to be a lot going on that day. I don't know if I will be able to do a show. Like I said, I'm going to try. I make no promises. We'll see how Wednesday, September 29th shakes out. And then, of course, on Wednesday, October 6th, Kim and I will be on our honeymoon in Mexico. So I don't want to do a show while I'm on my honeymoon. I'll be completely honest with you guys. So it's quite possible that there will not be a show on Wednesday, September 29th or October 6th. it's quite possible we'll go 2 weeks without doing a show. Which in all actuality, I guess that will back up to like 3 weeks from doing a live show. 2 weeks without posting any videos whatsoever on the channel. It is what it is, you guys. It is what it is. My apologies, but also I'm getting married, so I kind of feel like I'm allowed this one. I kind of feel like I'm allowed this one. Anyway, you guys, that's basically all of the info there. So apologies if this doesn't fit into your timetable or schedule, but that's why a live show is always recorded, and you can rewatch it anytime you want. And, you know, send me an email. If there's something that you specifically want to talk about, send me an email at godallofthemmovies@gmail.com. And if there's a little bit of movie news that you think that I missed, if there's something that you specifically want to talk about, if you just want to pull up something from the past and say, let's discuss this, I am here for it. You guys, if you haven't already done so, click on that subscribe button. With the more subscribers we get, the more watched content the channel gets. And with the more watched content the channel gets, hopefully I get to make this show my full-time job. So I very much appreciate that. All right, you guys. So with all of that stuff down and out of the way, now it's time to jump in and take your movie news.
What?
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 All right, that is right. You guys, it is time to jump in and take a little bit of movie news, and we're going to do that with some emails. And our first email of the day is from the Nerd Zone, and the Nerd Zone says, The Matrix trailer Thursday. Now, as you can see, Nerd Zone sent this to me yesterday. From the timestamp, it just has a time on it. So yeah, he sent it to me yesterday. Matrix trailer Thursday. So yes, we are going to get a trailer, the full-blown, probably a teaser trailer for The Matrix Resurrections tomorrow. But Nerdzone says, Warner Brothers did a tease of the two famous pills, saying, the choice is yours. Then saying, trailer coming Thursday with the computer code text. And I gotta be honest, you guys, this looks rad. If you're not familiar with specifically what it is that Nerdzone is talking about, so very secretly, Warner Brothers, or rather Lana Wachowski, or whoever else is involved in this whole thing, right? A new website popped up out of the blue. It says, it's called whatisthematrix.com. So just go to whatisthematrix.com. I can't pull it up and show you all the intricate details. There's a few copyright issues. But if you go to whatisthematrix.com, the first image you're going to see is of a blue pill and a red pill. And you get to click on either one. And then depending on which pill you click on, it takes you down a rabbit hole. You have a different voiceover. If you click on the red pill, you have a voiceover by the character playing Morpheus, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. Or if you click on the blue pill, you have a voiceover by Neil Patrick Harris. And each one kind of, it's a small narration. The whole thing from start to finish, I think, is less than a minute. And you get flashes. You get these quick flashes of scenes that, pop up. Let's jump into this webpage. Oh, that's Camp Improv Utopia. Here we go. So yeah. Here, as being reported by Variety, they talk a little bit more in detail about this. But yeah, it's just whatisthematrix.com takes you down this opportunity to see a couple of images, and by images, they're not stills; they are it's actual video. And here are just a few of these images. So first, we have a picture of Keanu Reeves, who is swallowing a blue pill, but look at his reflection. It's a much older, balder man. Still, I think, Keanu, but he's a much older version of himself. What does that mean? Then we scroll down a little bit more. A shot of Neo's pill bottle prescribed to his Matrix alter ego, Thomas Anderson. The medication is called Untolofloxacin, a clever tweak on the franchise's exploration of ontology, i.e. the nature of being. Ooh. Yahya Abdul-Mateen's character, the second character, staring at himself in the mirror. What does that mean? Did he just wake up? We have no idea. Again, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II's character materializing out of something, somewhere, somehow. Looks very futuristic. We have a new character played by Jessica Henwick, who appears to be another soldier in the fight against the machines. Like that still, that image right there just looks incredible. This one totally caught me off guard. Jonathan Groff, whom, if you're not familiar with Jonathan Groff, he plays, was it King Henry? Crap, I can't remember. Whoever the King of England was during the musical Hamilton. So in the musical Hamilton, this guy, Jonathan Groff, he also does the voice of, not Sven, you know who I'm talking about from the movie Frozen. Is it? No, Sven's the, you know who I'm talking about. That guy. Anyway, so here we have Jonathan Groff, who seems to be undergoing the first stages of the same red pill reaction that Neo experienced in the first film. His mouth is kind of like sticking together, right? It was creepy. A man who appears to be Neo, that's Keanu Reeves, taking a terrifying step off of a very tall building in what seems to be a test of his reality. If you remember in the first film, it became a test of Neo's reality that he had to jump from one building to the next and just trust that he can do it. And of course, you know, it was a program, it was a computer program. He fell. Everyone's like, oh, is he going to do it? Nobody does it on the first time. But is he going to do it? So this kind of looks to be a very similar thing. A reprise of one of the first shots from 1999's The Matrix of Trinity, sitting alone at a chair as soldiers move in on her. Yeah, it seemed to be almost kind of like a cut and paste carbon copy, but maybe they're redoing it. Maybe it's a completely different sequence. Who knows? Maybe the story is taking us back to the original Matrix trilogy. Who knows? And then the last shot that we have here is of Neo walking iconically in a noir-type street, a coffee house called Simulate, shining in the background. And these are just a few. These are just a few of the many images that pop up when you go to whatisthematrix.com. Again, you have these incredible voiceovers, which it should be noted that when you click on each of the pill, if you click on the red pill or the blue pill, and the whole video presentation starts, it's not just one, let's say, 45-second clip. The clips keep changing. While the voiceover is the same, except for the time, they also, like, it said, oh, you're watching this at 11:30 p.m. And I'm like, how did you know it's 11:30 p.m.? Yeah, it's synced up to whatever time zone you're in. And it shows you, like, what time it is. And so here you hear the actual actor, whether it's Neil Patrick Harris or whether it's Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, his voice saying what time it is. So it really made me think of, like, how much time did they spend in the recording booth recording this? Because they would have had to do every single time, every single minute. It is 1:22 p.m. You're watching this at 1:23 p.m. You are watching this at 1:24 p.m. And it's like, wow, you literally went through every minute of the day twice. Like, that's a lot of work, you guys. That's a lot of work. Even though it's just repetitive, there's a lot of minutes in the day. Anyway. But yeah, so they chop up like all these images, and I think there was something, you could probably find it, look it up. There's something like 400,000, maybe I'm getting that number wrong, but there are a ton of different combinations. So every time you click on one of these videos, yeah, you may see the same images over and over again, and that's fine. but there's always going to be like a new image or a new combo of images. It's really cool. It's really intuitive, you guys. So like these teaser trailers, it's you can't even really call it a teaser trailer because it's more of an interactive thing. It's so cool. And of course, all of this is going to be pointless by tomorrow because they're dropping the trailer, whether it's a teaser trailer or, you know, a full-blown trailer tomorrow. We know the movie's coming out in December because, again, like when you finish watching your preview, your interactive kind of experience on whatisthematrix.com, it pops up and says, hey, this movie's coming out in, I think is it December 22nd? Am I saying this correctly? I believe it's December 22nd. I'm not able to find it right now. But anyway, you guys, like this whole thing is just, this is cool. Now, what does this mean for the Matrix itself? What does this mean for the Matrix Resurrection itself, Matrix 4? I gotta be honest, I'm kind of impressed. I don't know what it is that I saw. And this was the brilliant viral marketing that the first Matrix movie brought to audiences. Do you remember, if for any of us who were alive back in 1999, do you remember driving around and seeing billboards that was just a white billboard and it says, "What is the Matrix?" And everyone's like, "What is the Matrix? What is that?" It was it was viral marketing before viral marketing existed. And then you just went, whatisthematrix.com. Or like you would go, it said, "What is the Matrix?" And then it said like, check it out on AOL, back when AOL was like the big thing back then. And so you hop on AOL and say, "What is the Matrix?" And then it looked like your computer was shutting down. It looked, because nobody'd seen anything like that before. You have all of like the numbers falling in green in perspective on your computer screen. And you're saying to yourself, what is this? This is bananas. And then you get, same thing. You had the red pill and you had the blue pill. And you clicked on either one. And it just rose this intrigue of, what is this movie? Oh, it's a movie. What in the world is this movie? Like, I have to see that. Like, I have to know, what is the Matrix? Which is the core integral question asked by the central character. What is he wants to know. He's a computer hacker. What is the Matrix? What is this thing? And now they're kind of taking it in a slightly different direction, but not asking the question so much of, what is the Matrix? You know what the Matrix is now. You know what it is. We all know what it is. I think, without actually saying the question, it sounds like the underlying question behind all this is, why is the Matrix? Why is the Matrix? Or maybe, why is still the Matrix? And I understand that's not grammatically correct, but why is still the Matrix? That seems to kind of be like the looming question here. And yes, there's a lot of references to John Wick. I mean, look at this. Look at this guy right here. Yeah, I mean, it's the same actor who plays John Wick, Keanu Reeves. This particular photo still looks very John Wick style, especially with the blue background. You have a little haze. He's got the John Wick hair. He's about to throw a punch. So it's all very John Wick. Seem like on the surface right now, but when you look at everything else, I mean, maybe this movie's gonna suck. Maybe this movie is going to bomb completely. We don't know. We'll see the trailer tomorrow. We'll watch the trailer for tomorrow. We'll have to wait for December for it to come out, for it to be released. But my goodness, I'm intrigued by the images, and they're not even 1 second images. It's like half a second. Granted, it's video, but it's like half a second of one video clip. So when you see Neo's character start to walk off of the side of a building, you see like half a second of him in motion, and then it cuts. You don't know what comes next. I'm intrigued. Before this website dropped, I was like, okay. Even last week, one of our viewers, the Nerd Zone, was asking, or like he kind of posed the idea of like, anytime you have a movie franchise that uses the title Resurrections, it's, The Matrix, Resurrection, or Alien, Resurrection, or, I don't know, Halloween, Resurrection. It's kind of like a recurring theme. Those movies aren't very good. They're really bad, actually. So to have The Matrix, Resurrections, it just doesn't instill a lot of confidence in the viewer. However, having said that, each film is its own thing. This movie very well could fall into the Resurrections trap, into the Resurrections curse, if you will. But I gotta be honest, so far from what I've seen, a young Morpheus being portrayed by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, all these images, it looks really cool, you guys. It looks really cool, but I want to hear from you guys. Have you gone to whatisthematrix.com? Have you clicked on the red pill? Did you click on the blue pill? Did you prefer Yahya Abdul-Mateen II's voiceover, or did you prefer Neil Patrick Harris's version? They're both really cool. What was your favorite still from that kind of viral marketing? I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are. Jump on down to the comments section below. All right, guys, let's move on to our second email of the day. And our second email of the day comes to us from the Nerd Zone. And Nerd Zone says, Venom 2 pushed forward? What? Yeah, Venom. So he says, Venom 2 has been pushed forward from October 15th to October 1st. You guys, this is a roller coaster ride. The Venom movie has been the Venom Carnage movie has been jumping around back and forth. I believe this is its 5th theatrical date that it was supposed to be released on. It was supposed to be released last year, like over a year ago. And then it got delayed because of the pandemic and blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. So let's jump into this article from Variety. Again, they're talking about Sony has altered the deal. Let's pray I don't alter it any further. In a surprise move, the comic book adaptation starring Tom Hardy as the journalist turned alien symbiote will debut in theaters earlier than expected on October 1st. That's my wedding day. I will not be seeing Venom on my wedding day. I would like to. I think that would be fun. They might be able to carve out a few minutes. I don't know. We'll see. The Venom sequel was scheduled to premiere in October of 2020, but due to the pandemic, it was pushed back to June 2011. So there's 2 dates right there: October 2020, and then June 2021. Then late September, and then most recently October 15th was its actual most concrete date. October 15th. Every time before then it was either October or June or September. And then they said not just October, but October 15th. Great. And now, well, actually September did have an actual release date. Sorry, correction on myself. Because it did get pushed back 3 weeks. It was September 22nd? Something like that. And then it got pushed back 3 weeks to October 15th. Sony announced the new date for Venom Let There Be Carnage shortly after Disney reported a bigger than expected opening weekend for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. The Marvel comic book adventure that's playing only in theaters. The Marvel movie collected $75.5 million over the weekend and a mighty $90 million in its first 4-day release, crushing the Labor Day weekend records. Not just during a pandemic, but kind of period. Now, it also, in that regard, kind of shifting gears about Shang-Chi, it also needs to be noted that Labor Day weekend traditionally has not done very well at the box office. So even though it's a COVID number, Shang-Chi, being released over the Labor Day weekend, and having a $90 million opening, or let's just say $75.5 million opening, while impressive, it's $75 more million than I would ever be able to make. It's still, it's not, the comparison is not there. It's not there all that well. In recent weeks, Sony made minor shifts to its release date. In August, the studio moved Venom back 3 weeks from September 20. So it was September 24th to October 15th before moving it ahead to October 1st, and pushed Ghostbusters Afterlife back 1 week, and so on and so on and so on. There's minor changes here and there. Like, this is just Sony trying to figure out the best spot for their films, trying to figure out who is going to be able to make the most amount of money per weekend, and prioritizing. Does Venom take priority? Does Ghostbusters take priority? So I mean, and then seeing what other studios are going to be doing as well. Like, oh, what's Disney doing? Oh, what's Paramount doing? Oh, Paramount moved entirely, huh? So a lot of this is strategic. It's not necessarily about the quality of the film of, oh, this is getting pushed back, or, oh, it's getting moved forward. That means Sony has confidence in this movie. I mean, yeah, I guess, but not more about confidence that it's going to do well, or rather setting it up for the best opportunity, not, this is an incredible move and they're only just realizing this now, so they have to move it up by 2 weeks, because look at Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi did a really great number. So, I mean, yeah, Shang-Chi did do better than expected numbers, and Sony 1,000% is taking note of this. But from a fan perspective, I'm excited because we get to see it 2 weeks earlier than we thought possible, which is in exactly 23 days from today. So Venom, not that I have a countdown to Venom, but I have a countdown to my wedding. So Venom's coming out in 23 days from today. Let's be honest, it's going to be coming out 22 days from today. They're going to do a Thursday night release, especially in like the bigger markets like New York, LA, that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, Venage. But yeah, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I like calling the Venage movie. Can we make this a thing? The Venage movie. So the Venage movie, I'm excited to see. The first one wasn't all that great, but it was fun. It was fun. It was weird. It was wackadoo. It was everything you expected from it. Carnage has been an iconic, person in opposition, villain, Venom's the anti-hero, but yeah, I mean, everybody's been wanting to see Venom versus Carnage and kind of seeing where this goes. So I'm really excited to see this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But you guys, what are your thoughts about it being moved up a couple of weeks from October 15th to October 1st? Are you going to be watching my wedding, or are you going to see Venom? Because you can only choose one. It's like Highlander. Highlander? Yeah, Highlander. There can only be one, right? So what is your one going to be? Let me know what you're going to watch October 1st down in the comment section below. All right, you guys, we have one more bit of movie news to cover today, and that is this. You may have heard... Oh, man. You may have heard about the lawsuit between Scarlett Johansson and Disney. To put it as succinctly as I can explain, pre-pandemic, Scarlett Johansson signed a contract with Disney. Sorry, there's a whole bunch of scratching sounds going on right now. My cat's trying to get out of the room. Scarlett Johansson signed a contract with Disney to do the movie Black Widow. She was going to be paid X amount of money, but also some of the money that she was going to be paid was contingent on the film having a theatrical release. How much money is this movie going to make at the box office? And then what is going to be the turnaround time from the film being shown in theaters until the time it comes out on like a streaming home video digital release, right? VOD or PVOD, as the case may be. Before the pandemic, there were all these rules, there were all these stipulations, there were all these regulations, right? And also contracts were dependent on how previous agreements have been curated. So just because the Black Widow contract or agreement didn't have anything saying, well, you know, in case we move it directly to streaming. No, because at the time, the precedent, if you look at Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, any of these films, the precedent had already been set. So when the precedent was already there, that you have a certain amount of time and that there's a certain amount of money that is paid, which has direct correlation with the box office, to the actors, to the director, to the producer, whoever, right? That precedent has already been laid out. So in future contracts, you don't need to specify what those things are. I'm sorry, I'm going on way too long about this Black Widow thing, but it's important to understand. Minerva, knock it off. Sorry, my cat is really causing a commotion right now. So when the pandemic hit, Disney felt that it was better for them to release Black Widow both on streaming, like on premium streaming, and in the theaters simultaneously. Well, that's not the agreement that they signed with Scarlett Johansson. That's also not the deal that they signed with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for Jungle Cruise. But guess what? They reached out to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and said, hey, we want to keep you happy. So they renegotiated the terms of their contract. It's understandable to say that, you know, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson he has to renegotiate a deal. He can't say, nope, this was the original agreement, because we're living in a pandemic. Everything has changed. Nobody could have anticipated this. Nobody. So what happened is when Scarlett Johansson reached out to Disney and said, hey, I want to renegotiate my deal. Disney was like, nope, no thanks, we're good. Which now sets a precedent. Is it about Scarlett Johansson getting more money? No, it's not about, I mean, yes, on the surface it's about that. But at the heart of this whole thing, it's not about Scarlett Johansson got paid $20 million. She needs more money. Harumph. It's not about that. It's about Disney setting a precedent saying, oh, we don't need to hold up our end of the bargain. We don't need to fulfill our contract. Meh. You think you can boss us around? You think that you can hold us to the terms of the agreement that we set? Nah. So now let's fast forward a little bit. Here we have the Russo brothers. The Russo brothers very much want to work with Disney again. Disney very much wants to work well with them. The Russo brothers don't necessarily make great movies outside of the Marvel Disney. Sometimes you need those that structure and those restrictions in place to make great films, right? And that just kind of so happens to be the case with the Russos. So the Russos really want to work with Disney, Marvel, and Disney Marvel really wants to work with the Russos because they make great movies under their guidance and big box office numbers, right? So they want to work together again. Everybody wins. But now the Russo brothers is looking at this situation with Black Widow and saying, hang on a second. You've altered the deal. Like, you're changing the terms at your whim, and you're not being held responsible for it. You're not being held accountable for it. Scarlett Johansson, her lawyers, her team, that whole group of people, They're trying to hold Disney accountable, and Disney's just trying to be like, meh. Now, legally, Disney doesn't have a leg to stand on. They do not have a leg to stand on. They're not going to win this. It's going to be dragged out over many years, I assume, the way Disney's been acting. Now, when I say Disney, is this the entire Disney Corporation? Kind of, and I say kind of because there's new Disney management. Bob Chapek. So when Bob Iger stepped down as CEO of the company, he still remained on as head of the board of directors, but he stepped down from being CEO. He gave the day-to-day operations of CEO to Bob Chapek, and it was supposed to be this huge passing of the torch, which it kind of was, you know. But Bob Chapek hasn't handled a lot of situations very well. Now, Bob Chapek, his response to this has just been that corporate, nope, this is it. Like, we're going to do our thing. You can't boss us around. You can't tell us what to do. Speaking of bossing around and telling people what to do, Minerva, hey, no. Again, apologies. My cat is throwing a temper tantrum. So, where does this leave the Russos? Well, right now, as has been reported in the Wall Street Journal, I think the Wall Street Journal was the first news outlet to kind of break the story. The Russos have stepped back from negotiations with Disney because they don't know if Disney's going to change the terms. They did with Scarlett Johansson, and so far her team has not been able to hold Disney accountable. I mean, like I said, they're going to lose. I'm sorry, Disney's going to lose this lawsuit, but it has soured the grapes forever with Scarlett Johansson, and now other people are starting to take notice. Other people, huge heavy hitters for Disney, for Marvel, with the Russos. They're starting to be like, and again, as reported in the Wall Street Journal, their negotiations have hit an impasse. They've hit an impasse because the Russos don't want whatever film that Disney wants them to make for them to go on streaming, or directly to streaming rather. But I think that's kind of where Disney wants to take this. And the Russos are not okay with that. The Russos 1,000% are not okay with that, and they've hit an impasse. Disney doesn't want to budge, and the Russos don't want that to be the case. They both want each other. I dare say they both need each other. But they've hit a huge block in the road, and everybody's got their eyes on this Black Widow Scarlett Johansson thing, lawsuit, and it's, I mean, so this is kind of where we're at right now, right? We don't know what the Russos are going to do. We don't know specifically what Disney's going to do. Maybe this whole thing with the Russos is going to help Disney take their heads out of their patooties, Bob Chapek, and give credit where credit is due. They should. That's what they need to do. They need to make a public apology. They need to more than help out and renegotiate this deal with Scarlett Johansson, and then put very specific verbiage into place with their new talent, like the Russos and other future directors that they get. They really need to have some assurances to let people know that this is not how Disney does business. Disney doesn't. I mean, they currently are changing terms of their agreement willy-nilly, as evidenced with Scarlett Johansson. But they, like other creatives, need assurances if they're going to work with Disney that Disney's not going to change the terms of the deal, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. That's a huge deterrent. That's a big problem for Disney. It's a big problem for Disney. Anyway, you guys, I've kind of talked about this ad nauseum for a little while. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are about this whole situation. Do you think the Russos should just suck it up and just sign the contract and say, look, we know who we are. We need the work, so we're going to put in the effort. Or do you think Disney's in the wrong? Do you think Bob Chapek is in the wrong? I mean, I can see this from multiple angles, but I gotta be honest, like, man, having worked and still work for a major corporation, where it's easy to get lost in the numbers, the people who are in charge, the head honchos, they kind of do what they want, and it doesn't matter who they step on to get where they want to go. And having been on the receiving end of that, I'm not okay with that. I am not okay with that. But anyway, guys, like I said, I want to hear your thoughts and feelings. Jump on down to the comments section below. All right, you guys, that takes us to the end of today's main bits of movie news. You guys have been firing in some live comments and questions all show long, so let's jump into live comments now.
It's alive! It's alive!
All right, you guys. Like I said, you have been firing in comments and questions all show long. And what in the world is this photo that I'm looking at right now? What happened? Sorry, the joys of doing a live show. Something, you know what? Let me jump into the Be Right Back. Something weird is going on with my stream. I'll be back in 3 minutes. right, you guys. Sorry about that. That was a weird, like, yeah, it was weird. For somehow the settings got changed and you got like this really weird photo up over here. Anyway, everything's fixed. Welcome back to the live comments and questions. Nerd Zone, let's just jump right into it. Nerd Zone says, welcome back to another episode of Everyone Hates Disney. Last episode it was Scarlett Johansson, but this episode we'll be looking at the Russo brothers. Stay around, because things are going crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing of like, this just seems like a clear-cut case of Disney screwed over Scarlett Johansson. And now other creatives are starting to take notice of that. And they also are siding with Scarlett Johansson. And Disney so clearly is in the wrong. I had a conversation about this with one of Kim's best friends last week. And he didn't do a deep dive. He was just kind of like reading the headlines and saying like, oh, Scarlett Johansson wants more money. And that's part of the problem, is that Disney is publicly shaming Black Widow and saying, we gave her $20 million. She wants more. That's not the issue. They're trying to pivot. They're trying to cover this whole thing up and saying, how dare Scarlett Johansson, the biggest name in the industry, saying she doesn't have enough money. That is so not the issue here. That is so not the issue. The issue is Disney changed the parameters of the deal. Scarlett Johansson just wants to get what she's owed. It doesn't matter if she's owed $10 or $10,000 or $10 million. Disney, when you're counting on something to happen, and that doesn't... Now, if there are unforeseen circumstances, and in this case, there most certainly have been unforeseen circumstances, but that's why you negotiate a new deal. And Disney wants none of it. They did it with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but for some reason... I mean, maybe it's a reason that is not made privy to the public, but when Scarlett Johansson's lawyers have been very open in saying, we've reached out to Disney and they will not talk to us. They will not negotiate with us. They just won't communicate with us. That's really bad. That's really bad, you guys. And now the Russo brothers they're on the fence about working with Disney now. It's a weird situation, you guys. Nerdzone says, I think the video was pointless. They could have done a tweet. I believe... Are you talking about the Matrix Resurrection? The video was pointless. They could have done a tweet. Nerdzone, can you tell me specifically what it is that's in reference to? I think the video was pointless. If that is in reference to the Matrix Resurrections, the video of... I mean, yes, to do all this viral marketing for 2 days that is incredibly expensive and time-consuming to create, for only a 2-day viral marketing campaign, only to put out the trailer on Thursday. I mean, yeah, you're right. They could have done a tweet. They could have done a tweet and just said, hey, guys, trailer coming on Thursday. But to defend it, maybe a little, or I don't know, maybe to play devil's advocate a little bit, that's not what the Matrix brand is. The Matrix brand has always been this subversive, let's subvert culture. And I mean, it's not about releasing information for the Matrix brand. It's not about releasing the information. It's about cultivating interest. And I think that's what this viral marketing has done. And even after the trailer has been released tomorrow, it's tomorrow, I think 7:58 in the morning. Why 7:58? Why not? Why not 8 o'clock? I don't know. Why not 758? I don't know. Yeah, why not? I think that is what The Matrix, at least the first film, did so well. I was living in Ireland at the time. I completely missed the releases of 2 and 3. I kind of gleaned a little bit, but you know, for the vast majority of those films and the pomp and circumstance revolving around them, I missed it. I completely missed it. But for Matrix 1, oh yeah, I was there for. But yeah, like their viral marketing is, I'm not going to say it's unparalleled, but it's clever, and they know how to capture interest or cultivate intrigue rather. And I think that was the point. Was to cultivate intrigue as opposed to just putting out a tweet saying, "Hey, trailer dropping Thursday." I don't know. My 2 cents. Nerdzone says, there have been 8 King Henrys, Mike. You aren't being specific on which King Henry from Hamilton. Well, there was only one King Henry from in the movie Hamilton, or in the musical Hamilton. And honestly, I couldn't tell you. King George, that's who it was. Wasn't King Henry. I'm Henry the 8th, I am. Henry the 8th, I am. Yeah, it was King George. That's who Jonathan Groff plays, King George. And my goodness, what an over-the-top, flamboyant King George he plays, and it is beautiful. Oh, I loved it so much. Nerdzone says, check the latest email I sent you. Yeah, so I wasn't sure if you wanted me to read that on air. I read it privately. Oh. Is that the one you were talking about? Because there was another one that you were like, don't read this before the show. Just thought I'd send you this and see. Oh, okay, hold on. Oh man, this is gold. This is gold. All right, hold on. Give me just a second. I need to format this really quick. And then I'll. Oh man, this is too good. This is too good. All right, so for anyone for anyone else who is watching the show live right now, Nerdzone just sent me an email that is in reference to a thing that happened on the show last week. All right, so let me see if I can get this up. Let's just do. Whoop, that's not what I wanted to click on. You know what? I'll just do this all in real time. How's that? So here, I'm going to upload this image real quick. So you can see Riri Williams on your screen right now. But this is what I want to show you guys. And of course, it's all out of whack and distorted. Here we go. So on last week's show, Nerdzone... Oh man, this is glorious. On last week's show, Nerdzone just kind of made this offhanded comment about how he accidentally purchased a Kindle version, a novelization of The Rise of Skywalker for 99p. And this is clearly this is the email that you this is your confirmation email. You bought, there it is. You bought it. You got one. Oh man, this is gold, my friend. This is gold. We spent way too much time on this. That just makes me giggle. It's so. Why would anybody do that? What purpose does a novelization of a crappy movie do? Why would people buy that? Why would you think that anybody would want to buy that? Like hardcore Star Wars fans? Maybe. Are there people that love Rise of Skywalker? Yeah, I'm sure there are. But for the most part, I think we can all agree it's not a great film. It's kind of a bad movie. Oh, man, that's... Mwah, hats off to you, sir. That is all sorts of special right there. Nerdzone says, hey, I like you, man, but Woody Harrelson all the way. What do you mean? Woody Harrelson I mean, I love Woody Harrelson. this the first Venom movie was it was a fun movie. I really enjoyed it. It's not a good movie. I don't like, it has some narrative problems. It has a few characterization problems, intrinsic problems with it not being directly tied into a Spider-Man film directly. Yet, at least anyway, right? So the symbiote just happens to look like Spider-Man, but if you read the comics, you know that the symbiote looks and acts and has the powers of Spider-Man because he first attached himself to Spider-Man. That's why Venom looks like he does. That's why Venom has the powers that he does. That's why Venom even has the spider on his chest. Well, does he in the movie? I don't remember. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of problems with that first Venom movie, but you forgive them because it's a fun movie. So Kim and I just sat down and watched. We just needed something to watch the day we got home from Camp Improv Utopia on Monday. So just to like we were exhausted, just to turn our brains off and just put on something that we've seen 1,000 times before. We watched Labyrinth. And this might sound like sacrilege, what I'm about to say, but I had this moment of realization. Labyrinth is not a good movie. I mean, there's so many story problems. It doesn't set hardly anything up. Stuff just happens. Like, once she gets into the labyrinth, okay, I mean, like, we live in that world and everything, but it begs these questions of, like, does she know that the Goblin King really exists? Like, what world are we living in? What universe are we living in? Do the mom and dad, are they aware that goblins and maybe pixies and fairies and trolls and goblins and, like, all these things, do they know that they exist? Maybe in a different realm or something? Like, are there conjurer, like, how do the rules of this world work, right? I love Labyrinth. I adore that film. I love it so much. I genuinely do, with no hyperbole. I love that movie. But I also kind of just recently, the other day, came to the realization that it's technically not a good movie. Like, there's a lot of things in that movie that logically don't make sense. So that's what I mean about Venom. There's stuff in that movie that doesn't logically make sense, and it's not the way it's supposed to be. But I loved it. And Woody Harrelson playing the bad guy in this next film. Oh yeah. Woody Harrelson does great at whatever he does. The Now You See Me movies, I love them. They're wonderful. They're great. They're not good movies, but I really enjoyed them. So Woody Harrelson, I don't care what you're in, I'll watch it, and you're gonna be amazing. Nerdzone says, I'm not watching The Wedding, I'm watching Venom 2. Your loss, my friend, your loss. But I mean, I'm not publicly streaming The Wedding anyway, so I am going to stream my wedding, but it's on a private thing. So it will. I might show excerpts in the weeks or months to come, but in the actual moment, no, it's not going to be publicly live streamed. It will be private. Nerdzone says, at least Bob Chapek wasn't the last CEO of Marvel. Wasn't the last CEO of Marvel. Are you referring to Avi Arad? Avi Arad of Marvel Entertainment, not Marvel Studios. Two very different companies. Ooh, yeah. Avi Arad did not do good. Or rather, he did not do well. Bob Chapek is also running a corporation. So just so we all understand how the structure works, you have Bob Chapek, who's in charge of everything. And then you have Alan Horn, who's in charge of of Disney's entire film division. Doesn't matter if it's Lucasfilm, Marvel, Pixar, Disney, Animation, whatever. Alan Horn is in charge of everything motion pictures, period. And then you have, like, underneath Alan Horn, then you have your Kevin Feige's. Then you have your I can't think of the dude's name who's running Pete Docter. Then you have Pete Docter who's running Pixar. Or you have your Kathleen Kennedys and so on and so forth, right? You have your studio heads, right? So at Disney, the people running Marvel, or rather the person running Marvel, is Kevin Feige. He did all the way from Iron Man 1. But yeah, if you're looking at Marvel Entertainment, Avi Arad he kind of crapped the bed, as they say. Nerdzone says, "Is it bad I laughed at the BRB?" Yeah, sorry about that. That was such a weird thing. Like, I usually have my parameters and everything set so that I just have to click on it and done. There it is. And I usually try to check all that stuff before the show, but for some reason, something changed. I don't know what it was. Something changed. So yeah, that was weird. It was a weird thing. Nerdzone says, "I'm a massive Star Wars nerd, and I do not want to read this book." Don't. It's a bad movie. It's a bad story that doesn't make any sense. I've been watching a lot of those Screen Rant pitch meetings lately. And the one that I watched last night, it came out a year ago, but it was of James Bond Spectre. And I hate that movie. I absolutely hate that movie. Spectre was... if it's not my least favorite, it's my second. Yeah, no. Die Another Day. Die Another Day is my least favorite. Spectre is probably my second least favorite. It's just a bad movie that doesn't make sense, and they build in emotional stakes and, blah, 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 whatever, right? Okay, we've all seen Spectre. We all know that we hate it. But the way that the people at Screen Rant, and the reason that I'm talking about this is he also did one for Rise of Skywalker. It's perfect. It points out the ridiculous nature of, oh, so why did he do that? Oh, well, we don't know. Deus Ex Machina. Oh, well, that makes sense. That whole idea of, why are you doing this? Well, to make money. People like James Bond, we don't know what to do with it. And we're on a time crunch. So why don't you do something smart? Because we don't have time. Okay. Great. As you were. And it's frustrating, right? It's frustrating. Especially when you can remove yourself from the situation and say, you guys really crapped the bed on this one. You could have prepared better. You could have prepared more. And you didn't. Like, there could have... all the way from The Force Awakens, there could have been one story arc that you were crafting, but there so clearly wasn't. So yeah, when somebody accidentally buys a novelization of your movie, have a good movie so that you can also have a good book. Nerdzone says, after I watched The Rise of Skywalker, it made me like The Phantom Menace. I'm not going to sit here and defend Phantom Menace. That is not a good movie. None of the prequels were good. I would say, now, granted, it's been years. It's probably since it first came out, since I've seen Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. I haven't seen it since it came out, 2005, 2006, something like that. But when The Phantom Menace first came out, I loved it. Because I was supposed to love it. It's Star Wars. How could Star Wars possibly be bad? So I watched it. And I didn't understand that I didn't like it. I didn't understand that it was a bad movie. Because it's Star Wars. And we're all supposed to love Star Wars, right? Star Wars is amazing. Star Wars can do no wrong. And I loved it. Because I was supposed to love it. But after a few years, and I've had some time for this to sit with me, and I could kind of analyze it and step back from it and whatever. We all recognize, we all understand, Phantom Menace is a bad movie, right? Right. But there are things in that film that I will defend. The opening sequence is incredible. It's kind of nail-biting in a way. They do some really interesting creative things with the lightsabers. Like when Qui-Gon Jinn takes his lightsaber and sticks it into the, for lack of a better term, vaults, like those super security max doors or whatever, and he's just like trying to molten the door, like melt the door with his lightsaber. That's all stuff that we've dreamed about. That's all the kind of stuff that like we do when we play pretend with our friends, and we get like broomsticks made out, or we get lightsabers made out of broomsticks, and we're running around our backyard hitting each other with sticks and whatever, right? Saying, hey, it's a lightsaber. We all pretend that we can do that kind of stuff because it's pure energy. It's like it can move into anything, right? So when they did stuff like that, and you're like, oh, that is awesome. Oh, I so want to see that. And then when they have like those rolling droids, and the rolling droids have those force fields, and they're shooting lasers at the Jedis, and they're just like, that was awesome. That was really, really cool. And then they get to Naboo. Then they set foot on Naboo, and the whole tone of the movie changes. That was terrible. But then we fast forward to the end. You have this war going on outside. Now, Jar Jar Binks is a fool and dumb, and nobody liked him, but he's there. Okay, so whatever. So you have this war against the droids versus the Gungans. Didn't care for the Gungans. They're stupid, but whatever. So you have this epic war. And then you have the secret faction of, lack of a better term, spies led by Princess Amidala, whatever her name was, Princess Amidala, and so that she has like her decoy princess, but then she and some of her other officials go off, and they're like trying to stage a coup and like try to take over Naboo and that whole thing. Coup 2, as you could say, second coup. And then you have the Jedis fighting Darth Maul, who was one of the coolest characters created by George Lucas, but then just, thrown away. Cut him in half. He fell down a reactor hole or whatever, and we never saw him again. I mean, you have the Clone Wars, and you have the extended universe that kind of brings him back and blah, 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 whatever. But at the time, he just kind of goes away. And it was a waste of such a great character. A character who doesn't speak, who looks menacing. That was awesome. But in the whole Duel of the Fates by John Williams, my goodness, what an incredible piece of music. So there are redeeming parts to The Phantom Menace. But on the whole, not a great movie. The pod racing scene, it was enjoyable to watch. It was fun. It was not good. It was dumb. It was fun to watch, though. Nerdzone says, Avi Arad is an expert at selling toys. That's why he loves Venom. Edgy monster that looks like Spider-Man. Money, 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 money. Yeah. That's what Avi Arad is good at. Avi Arad, to his credit, was the executive producer. He was the numero uno producer on Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1, 2, 3. Spider-Man 2, arguably the best Spider-Man movie that has ever been made. Arguably. For a long time it was, right? And for a long time it was the best superhero movie ever made. Avi Arad, executive producer numero uno on the Amazing Spider-Man films with Mr. Garfield, Andrew Garfield. I understand a lot of people don't like Amazing Spider-Man 2. I did. Most people don't. But Amazing Spider-Man 1 has a general favorable reaction to it. So Avi Arad has produced some good stuff. He's also produced, he was executive producer numero uno on a lot of the animated Spider-Man stuff. The Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s, which is the one that I grew up with, which had cutting-edge 3D technology in it, was incredible. A lot of those shows have done very well, so in the animated spectrum. But yeah, to your point, all of that stuff feeds into the machine of making toys. So he was really great at making toys. Yeah, I get it. Nerdzone says, also, I can explain why Amazon technically doesn't own Bond. MGM publishes 007, but they don't make the films. So yeah, it's Sony. It used to be United Artists, I believe, was the original So it was Cubby Broccoli who bought the film rights directly from Ian Fleming himself. Ian Fleming didn't want to sell because he had sold off the television rights for Casino Royale in 1958, I believe, or maybe it was 56. It was in the 50s. And you can actually go and watch the original Casino Royale with Peter Lorre. It's streaming on YouTube. It's all in black and white. It was a made-for-TV movie in the 50s for CBS. It did not go very well. It was bad. They changed James Bond. They changed his name from James Bond to Jimmy Bond, and he was played by an American. It was bad. But Cubby Broccoli he was like a rising film producer in England. He's American, but he moved to England because he was such an Anglophile. So he moved to England and started making English films, read the 007 novels, fell in love with them, and said, this is what my next project needs to be. So then he hounded Ian Fleming and gave him all the assurances in the world. Your creation will not be a joke. It's going to be legit. I am not going to cut any corners on this. So he, teamed Cubby Broccoli once he got the rights and convinced Ian Fleming to sell him the rights. That's when he started doing pictures with United Artists. Now, the Casino Royale rights issue was held on by CBS. I believe the agreement was until 2003 or 2004. Maybe it was 2004. That's when the rights came due. So that's why Pierce Brosnan was fired. Not fired. He was let go as James Bond because they wanted to do Casino Royale. And if you're going to do Casino Royale, it's kind of an origin story, so you can't do an origin story with James Bond with the same actor who's been playing James Bond. So anyway, so that was the whole thing. They got rid of Pierce Brosnan. They brought in Daniel Craig in 2006 to do that Bond film. But moving backwards, United Artists went bankrupt in the 80s. So if you look at all of the James Bond films from 1962's Dr. No until 1989's License to Kill with Timothy Dalton, they were all produced by United Artists. United Artists went belly up in 1989 or 1990, something like that. So with the combination of the Berlin Wall falling in 1989 and the rights not the rights, but the distribution to James Bond being up in the air momentarily, that's why there was a 7-year gap. 6-year gap. 1995 is when GoldenEye came out. So there was a huge gap because up until that point, James Bond movies have been coming out every other year, and then we have a 6-year gap. Enter Pierce Brosnan, blah blah blah, whatever. Distribution rights at that time were picked up by MGM. But then when so the 90s James Bond movies were MGM distributed, right? They were MGM distributed. That's why, like, again, the opening title sequence, which we traditionally always seen, United Artists, is now the roaring lion for MGM. Then fast forward to 2006, and that whole the rights issue with Casino Royale came out, right? So MGM teamed up with Sony, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there was a statute of limitations on that distribution right. So the film rights, sorry, I have so many things going through my brain right now. So the film distribution rights had a statute of limitations for MGM and then went to Sony afterwards as a result of the acquisition of Casino Royale. Because Sony and CBS, are Sony and CBS the same company? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. There's some correlation there. Anyway, so now with Daniel Craig, Casino Royale films moving forward. Surprisingly, the film rights for James Bond have always remained in the Cubby Broccoli family, whether by his actual daughter, Barbara Broccoli, or by his stepson, Michael Wilson. They have always remained in the family, and hopefully, fingers crossed, will always remain in the family. They've been making great films. I mean, Spectre aside, of course, there's a few stinkers. You're always gonna have a few stinkers, and there's a few stinkers in the MCU. It's a franchise. You're gonna have stinkers. You're gonna have great movies, and you're gonna have stinkers. Anyway, so, but yeah, there was a whole thing with Amazon acquiring the rights to Bond. Hold on, now I gotta look this up. Amazon 007. What does Amazon buying MGM mean for James Bond? This is in Forbes. Man, all the other stuff, that's just been I just know all this stuff because I love Bond so much. Yeah, Amazon will be purchasing MGM for $8.4 billion. That's the end of an era. Yeah, so moving forward, the Bond films will be produced by Amazon. It takes a potential major player off the acquisition board while showing that Amazon Prime is committed to being more than just an added value element for folks signing up for free shipping, blah, blah, blah. As far as what it means for MGM's Golden Goose, Eon Productions, Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson stated that, quote, "We are committed to continuing to make James Bond films for the worldwide theatrical audience." So, going off of Amazon's track record, Amazon has deep pockets right now. So that potentially could mean a higher budget for a future Bond flick. Whether they get Cary Fukunaga to come back and direct. I'm so glad that this chapter, this Daniel Craig chapter, is going to be over. Daniel Craig has been my favorite James Bond out of any of the other Bonds. Spectre, I hated so much. And this has been the only, so I'm going off on a long rant here. The Daniel Craig films have had one, it's been a thin through storyline, but it has been one consistent story from start to finish. And I understand, it's the first time a James Bond film has done that it's actually connected the story in a logical way. Yeah, Blofeld's popped up in movies from time to time, and it was fine, it was what it was. But the character, or the actor of Blofeld kept changing. The circumstances surrounding Blofeld kept changing. He was just kind of like this nebulous character, right? Who was the villain. He was the bad guy against James Bond, and there wasn't any connecting story to connect these movies together until Daniel Craig. And there's a loose story connection there. Mr. White plays a big part in all of the films. Keeps popping up. Obviously, Blofeld was behind it the whole time, right? Oh, that revelation was so contrived, and I hated it so much. But anyway. I also can explain why Amazon technically doesn't own Bond. MGM publishes 007, but they don't make the films. Yeah, so, and then there's that. Anyway, I talked way too long about that. But yeah, I love me some 007. Bing! Daniel Craig, James Bond. There it is. If they made a pop toy of George Lazenby, James Bond, I would buy it. And or Timothy Dalton. I don't think there's a Timothy Dalton James Bond pop toy or George Lazenby. If there are, please send me a link because I would very much like to purchase those. All right, our last message of the day from the Nerd Zone says, "Revenge of the Sith is my favorite movie of all time, man." Really? Huh. Hey, in all fairness, all film is subjective. So, we all glean things from different places. It's my again. I will stand by this. It's my personal opinion that the Star Wars prequels are not good films. I believe Revenge of the Sith, and I think I said this earlier, Revenge of the Sith is the best of the prequels. But let's also analyze the time periods. So, like, at the time that Revenge of the Sith came out, I'm assuming you were quite young. Because I don't know how old you are, Nerd Zone. It's quite possible that Revenge of the Sith came out before you were born. Possibly. Yeah, possibly. Even, dare I say, probably. So, I was in college when that movie came out. And as a lifelong Star Wars fan, like, I think my first Star Wars movie was Return of the Jedi. I recognize that a large body of the Star Wars community, who's older than I am, did not like Return of the Jedi because it took a little bit of a departure. The story turned a little bit from what the first two were, and I appreciate that. That's fine. People hated the Ewoks. You can always tell when someone was born if they like the Ewoks or if they hate the Ewoks. I love the Ewoks because I was young enough to appreciate them. I really liked what they did. I liked what they represented. I liked the characterizations of them. But I also recognize there's a lot of people who are older than me that hate the Ewoks. They thought they were stupid. They thought they were dumb. I grew up with the Ewoks. I loved them. They were wonderful to me. But for a good portion of my childhood, there was only 3 Star Wars movies. There were only 3 Star Wars movies. There was those knockoffs. Well, not knockoffs, but they were pretty terrible. Like the Caravan of Courage. Why can't I speak today? Caravan of Courage. There was another one. Oh, I can't remember. Like the Battle of the Ewoks or something like that. Battle of Endor. That's what it was. And then there was a third one. There was a couple of cartoon specials out there or whatever. But like for the vast majority, there were only 3 Star Wars movies. It was perfect. It was self-contained. It was what it was. And then we heard that George Lucas in the 90s was, I think it was 98, 97. I believe it was announced in 97 because that's when the re-release, the theatrical re-release of Star Wars came out in theaters. And I remember being able to watch it on the big screen, and I was blown away. I could not get enough of that. It was the coolest thing in the world to see the opening crawl not on a television screen. It was so good. It was so good, you guys. Anyway. But yeah, when they announced the prequels, we were over the moon. And then I watched Phantom Menace, and I loved it because, like I said, I was supposed to love it. Culture dictated, this is Star Wars, you must love it. So I loved it. But then I started realizing how bad it was. And then I moved to Ireland, and then I came home, and then I watched Attack of the Clones, the Clone War, whatever. Yeah, Attack of the Clones. I hated that movie. I still hate that movie. Again, it's Star Wars. You're supposed to love it, right? I had such a visceral reaction against that film when I watched it. I couldn't. It was cognitive dissonance is what it was. My brain was telling me, but it's Star Wars. You're supposed to love it. Other half of my brain was saying, this is bad. I know I'm supposed to like it, but I don't. But I'm supposed to. But it's bad. And I don't know. And then I was in college, and Revenge of the Sith came out. And admittedly, it was the best of the 3 films. I still didn't love it. I was, I should go back and rewatch it. Maybe that's what I'll do later this afternoon. I still have a lot of wedding prep to do left today. But yeah, maybe I'll go and rewatch Revenge of the Sith later today. It has some great moments in it. I'll give you that. But it just didn't do anything for me. I didn't love that movie. But I say that as same thing. Same thing what I was saying, like with the Ewoks. You can always tell when somebody was born, depending on if they like the Ewoks, and if they don't like the Ewoks. Same thing in your case. Do you like the prequels? Do you not like the prequels? Do you like the Gungans? Do you not like the Gungans? That whole thing. You can tell when, like, how old people are based on if they like a certain thing. So, and again, talk about Avi Arad knowing how to sell toys for children, or for, you know, Spider-Man toys. I'm not going to say George Lucas made those movies to sell toys, but man, they were popular. Boy, oh boy, were they popular. So, yeah, I mean, no hate. I don't hate Revenge of the Sith. I'm not saying that at all. I did hate Attack of the Clones, though. I thought it was really, really exceptionally bad. But hey, man, like, that's a subjectivity. I'm sure, I am 1,000% sure there are people out there who hate Jurassic Park. Oh, I'm sure there are people out there who hate Jurassic Park. And that's fine. That's fine. I don't begrudge you. I don't begrudge you your thoughts and opinions, but you're wrong. See what I did there? I just contradicted everything I just said. Anyway, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. All right, you guys, this takes us to the end of today's show. Thank you so much. Huge thanks to the Nerd Zone for giving us stuff to talk about and keeping that discussion going. I would normally say if you guys have anything to plug, go ahead and plug. Just a reminder, everybody. If anybody is looking to watch the show in live in the coming weeks, the upcoming show schedule will be thus: next week, 1 week from today, we're starting super early at 10 o'clock in the morning. The week after, it will go back to our normal, regularly scheduled 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start time. Wednesday, September 9th is 2 days before I get married. I don't know if I'm doing a show. If I'm being completely candid, probably not. Probably not. But to be determined. Wednesday, October 6th, there will be no show because I will be on my honeymoon in Mexico. So there you go. If you're looking for a little schedule, all that stuff there together. If anybody wants to get a main topic on the show, send me an email at gottalovethemmovies@gmail.com. And as long as it's a family-friendly comment or a question, we can make your comment or question a main topic here on the show as I scratch my nose. You guys, if you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Hayden Christensen from Revenge of the Sith would want you to do. Ooh. Anyway, guys, we live in a weird, crazy world where everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to infuse a little bit of kindness into the world today, please take those opportunities. As always, in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I'll see you guys next week, 10 a.m.